Hello everyone and welcome back to Sports Today. We're joining you with a bit of breaking news from the world of Formula 1, and it's a bit of a shocking news because it came from absolutely out of nowhere. But Fernando Alonso, who's currently driving for Alpine in the Formula 1 series, will be joining Aston Martin, and he will be the person replacing the recently retired Sebastian Vettel. Yes, you heard that right. Sebastian Vettel ended up shocking everyone just this weekend ahead of the Hungarian Grand Prix with his retirement announcement, and there was a lot of speculation over who exactly would be replacing Vettel in that seat. And that person, there's no real surprise or secret about it anymore. That person is going to be Fernando Alonso. But it does come as a surprise because recent news reports in the world of Formula One had been suggesting that Alonso was all but locked in for extending his stay at Alpine. But however, the main reason, and this is something that I think a lot of people would not be aware of, that there were complications with regards to contract or the length of the contract between Alpine and Alonso. Now, Alpine's plan going into the next season was that they wanted to give Alonso only a 1 year extension before moving him over to their sports car and endurance racing teams. So the plan for Alonso generally was that he only wanted to spend one more season beyond 2022 in Formula 1, and that season would be 2023 before he then moved on to competing in endurance racing and sports cars, but under the Alpine banner itself. However, this season Alonso has generally been he's been very good. I wouldn't say he's been at his best, but he's still one of the fastest drivers on the grid despite being in what's clearly a midfield car. Yes, his teammate Esteban Ocon has outperformed him in terms of points, but generally speaking, Alonso has also lost a lot of points due to some very bad luck situations, sometimes whether it be reliability or poor calls from the team. So he's estimated himself that he's lost about 50 odd points thanks to some poor reliability issues that have cropped up on occasion, and he wouldn't be wrong. So he's been performing at his very best, despite the fact that he's past the age of 40 at this point. But he's been at his absolute best, and he believed, or rather, in fact, he'd even said ahead of the weekend that he wants a 2 year deal because he feels good enough to be competing in Formula One. And also said that, I intend staying in Alpine and I intend staying with the team because I've spent a good, this will be my second season here and we're building something. He did, however, add a caveat when he said that I'd be open to, that all my options are open. And he had also said, perhaps more importantly, that he wanted to stay longer. And he said that if Alpine agrees to my conditions, it won't take more than 10 minutes to get a deal done. I think it's pretty clear that he and Alpine didn't agree on that contract extension, and that is why he has joined Aston Martin, and he's going to be joining them on a multi-year contract. That, by the way, is the key factor in his move. He wanted a multi-year deal because he wanted to stay in F1 longer. The real question, of course, that some of you would be asking is then, why didn't Alpine give him that multi-year deal? Well, it's simple. They actually only wanted to give him a 1 year deal primarily because they have a driver in the waiting whom many consider to be the next big thing in Formula 1 or in motorsport. And that driver is, of course, Oscar Piastri. Now, Oscar Piastri is currently Alpine's reserve driver, but the plan for Alpine was that they would give him a seat in 2023, whether that be in Alpine or on loan to another team, with Williams being mooted as one of the options. However, now it seems with Alonso out of the way that the stage is now set most likely for Piastri to finally get that seat in Alpine. How good or bad he does is another matter, but I think it would be a good start for him. But again, as I said, it's not confirmed. It's only speculation on my and pretty much everyone else's end at this point, that with Alonso now gone, the coast is clear for Oscar Piastri to make his Formula 1 debut in 2023. So obviously, silly season kicking into overdrive with Sebastian Vettel retiring suddenly opened up a seat in F1, and Alonso gets that seat, which also means that Piastri potentially is finally going to be getting a seat. Very excited to watch Piastri, by the way, in case you haven't heard of him. He's won pretty much all there is to win at the junior levels. In 2021 he won the F2, but in 2020 he had won F3. And then before that also he had competed in, say, British Formula 4 and Renault Formula Series as well, and he had won all of it. He had won the lot, and realistically there was nothing more for him to do after his F2 journey concluded, but to make his debut in F1, whether it be this season or the next. It will obviously not be 2022, but it seems very likely that 2023 will be the year we get to see Oscar Piastri on the F1 grid. So personally, I'm very psyched about it, and I'm also very interested to see how Alonso would do in Aston Martin. Again, Aston Martin, ever since their rebrand to Aston Martin from Racing Point, have been pretty underwhelming. Even this year, you thought that maybe with the clean slate of the 2022 regulations they'd be able to be closer to the midfield, but they haven't been. So, but having a driver of Alonso's experience can be a double-edged sword. He will drive them to improve, but he's also very critical and not afraid to voice his feelings, as someone, as people who followed his career would know only too well. Also, there's a bit of irony about this move in some ways, because the last time these two drivers were involved with swapping teams like this, or rather replacing each other, was in 2015, when Alonso was still driving for Ferrari, and Ferrari ended up replacing him with Vettel and pushing him back to McLaren. This time around, Vettel is the one being replaced because he's chosen to retire, and he's being replaced by Alonso. So that said, I'm very excited and interested to see how exactly this works out. And given that Formula One is currently entered the month-long summer break, I think we're going to see more such news of this nature. So stay tuned to Sports Today for more such news. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Leave us a comment. Do you think this is a good, replacement for Aston Martin, or do you think their issues run a little deeper than just replacing one particular driver? Do let us know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tap the bell icon so you know when it is we're going live or uploading a new video. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Last but not least, download the AajTak app for more such breaking news in this manner. Thank you all so much for joining me. Bye bye for now.